everyone, and this is Phoenix here, and yeah, it's been quite a bit since you guys have seen my face, but yes, I do indeed have a face, and it's okay, I guess, but anyways, so yes, I'm going to be doing another collection video, although this time it's not going to be on video games as a surprise. Instead, it's going to be on my anime, DVD, and Blu-ray collection, and I do plan on doing one on movies as well, but I'm going to wait a little bit before I get to that one, though, but I figured I'd do the anime stuff first, so yeah, I'm just going to be going on talking about some of the anime shit that I own, and all that kind of fun stuff, and of course you guys can talk about the ones that you have and you really like and all of that good shit, so yeah, let's just get right to it. So the first one we got here happens to be Akira. So yeah, I don't really need to say much about this movie since it is so very iconic. But as I'm sure you can take a guess, yes, I do indeed love this movie, not only for its awesome animation, but I actually do really like its story as well, and this DVD right here actually has the newer dub of it, which I actually do like the new dub quite a bit, but I will say, I do like a few things about the older dub a little bit more. For an example, I like Cam Clark in the lead role better than Johnny on Bosch personally, but other than this though, you really can't go wrong with either version of this that you watch though, whether it be the two dubs or even the original Japanese. Either way, great fucking film. And next up we have is Another, which is actually one of my favorite more recent animes. Well, I guess it's not that recent anymore, it was 2012, but it was one of my more favorite ones that came out of like the 2010s era. So it's a horror anime that takes place at a high school that is cursed, and the only way to break the curse is to kill the one that is dead. Which pretty much means that the person that is alive, quote unquote, thinks that they're alive, but they're actually dead. So kind of like the movie The Sixth Sense, it's very similar to that. And of course I have to mention that this is a pretty gory anime, but not onto the point of something being like Genocyber, but it is pretty over the top though, and it is also very interesting as well. So yeah, I was really surprised when I first saw this one. I actually liked it a lot more than I thought I did. And next up is Aura Battler Dumban. So yes, this is one that I have reviewed on the channel before, but I have to say, I'm actually really happy that we finally got a Blu-ray release of this. I was kind of surprised because I always found that this anime was a little bit more on the, obscure side. Maybe not the super obscure side, but obscure enough that I always thought it would just be, stuck on, DVD and VHS forever. So I'm pretty happy about that release, but yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite Tamino animes next to the original Gundam and Zeta Gundam and all that. And next up is Armor Trooper Votoms. This one is fucking awesome. This is another one that I've reviewed before too, and it definitely is a huge favorite of mine that is very underrated as well. And I actually got these 3 DVDs fairly recently, but it was before the whole COVID shit actually happened though, so I went to a thrift store outside of my town and found them and was like, yoink, I'm taking those, because they're dirt cheap, and I actually did thought about getting the Blu-ray of them, but I think I'll suffice with these for now, even though there is one volume that's missing though, but I can always track it down later though. But yeah, I got most of them out of this though for next to nothing, so I'm happy about that, and they are in good shape too. But in case you don't know much about Votoms though, all I have to say is that it's basically like a futuristic Indiana Jones, but if he was a military man, but he's trying to find a secret to something. It's kind of hard to explain it simply, but that's the basis I can say, and that, well, yeah, I really loved it a hell lot. And next up we have is Big O, and this is another fucking awesome one. So this DVD is only just season 1, which arguably is actually the best season anyways, but I would like to have both of them though, just for a complete set. But yeah, this is another DVD I randomly found at a thrift store many years ago. And to sum up this anime is that it's pretty much Batman meets James Bond meets mechs. And I don't know about you, but I personally think that sounds really fucking awesome, and if you think so too, then I can highly recommend it. Hell lot of fun. So next up we have is Black Blood Brothers. Well, that's a bit of a mouthful, but anyways, so this is a Blu-ray that I ended up getting last year. I haven't actually watched it since I've gotten it though, but I have seen it before around when the show came out, and I actually remember really liking it. And I remember the main reason why I wanted to watch this anime back then was because the main character looked like a mixture between Alucard from Hellsing and D from Vampire Hunter D, and well, yeah, it's a pretty fucking awesome design. And I do remember liking the show, but like I said, I just need to rewatch it again, but I'm pretty sure I would still like it though. And next is Cowboy Bebop, the TV series, and well, this is another one I don't think I need to say much on it, but yeah, I did rewatch it recently, and I still found it to be highly enjoyable as much as I did the first time. And next is Cyber City Odio. This is one that I actually remember finding, like, randomly a couple years ago, and I thought it looked kinda cool, and of course, at the top it says, from the director of Ninja Scrolls, and I was like, well, this has to be fucking good, and well, it is. I actually really enjoyed this one a lot. The easiest way to sum it up is that it's kind of like Suicide Squad, but if it was in a cyberpunk world, but for that it's about a bunch of prisoners that have a chance to escape freedom. And personally, I think it's like a bajillion times better than Suicide Squad. If you want to see something else that's like Suicide Squad, I guess there's, Assault on Arkham. That's a really good one. But if it comes to animes, though, I think this is definitely one of the best ones you can get when it comes to that concept. Also, the English dub for this one is, like, so bad it's good. It's definitely one of the more hilariously bad ones that is at least worth watching for how hilarious it is. Also, one weird thing I have to mention about my copy of it is that if you look at the back of the case, it looks like it's like one like little section is like peeled down directly. It's fucking weird. I've never seen anything like that happen before. You're gonna wonder who the hell did this before they owned it. And next up is Die Guard. This is another one of those animes that I did review a long ass time ago, and to sum it up, it's basically a lot like Evangelion, but instead of like a bunch of pesky teenagers that don't know what the fuck they're doing riding mechs, instead it's about a bunch of office workers riding a bunch of mechs protecting the world from monsters. And this series actually came out after, so I can see a lot of people's writing it off as a ripoff, but for me personally, I thought this one was pretty decent. It was kind of enjoyable at parts, but my biggest complaint with this anime is that I find there's just a lot of, like, boring parts throughout it, so it has a little bit of a pacing issue, where it has some parts that are, like, kind of fun, but then you got some parts that just kind of drag on a little bit. But I will say, I do like the mech design in this one. I do think he looks pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of something out of, like, Mazinger Z, or any one of those, like, really old school super robot type deals. So yeah, I'd say I like Die Guard, but I wouldn't consider it to be a top favorite. And next is Dark Side Blues. Now, I'm not going to say much on this one because I actually am reviewing it for my horror feature this year, so if you want to hear my thoughts on it, then stay tuned for October and I'll tell you more about it. And speaking of horror, now we have Doom Megalopolis, one that I reviewed last year for my horror feature. And of course, I have to mention this every time, but I freaking love the cover art of this anime. I think it looks fucking badass. In fact, it was actually painted by Noriyoshi Orai, who has actually done a lot of really badass artworks before. For examples, he has done stuff from like the Godzilla posters, he even did the Japanese poster for Star Wars, he even did the cover arts for the Koei games on NES. And I'm sure you all noticed that yes, the dude on the cover does indeed look like a demonic M. Bison, and that right there is pretty fucking cool. But as for the OVA itself though, well, without going too much into detail about it because I did an entire video on it, I will sum up and say that I do like this film. I actually did enjoy it, but it is not perfect though, and it's not one that I can easily recommend to people. But if you do want to see a more evil, sadistic version of M. Bison wanting to fuck up a bunch of shit with some acid trip weirdness to it, then I think it's worth a watch. And next is Escaflowne, or Escaflowne, or whatever the hell you want to pronounce it as. But yeah, this is a mecha anime that also mixes in some fantasy stuff, kind of similar to Magic Knight Rayearth, but I haven't seen this one in a very long time. In fact, I don't think I ever watched, like, the entire thing of it, but I do remember really liking it, though, and I thought the concept was really fucking cool, and it did have some really good voice acting from Crispin Freeman, so I definitely do want to rewatch it again from beginning to end. And next is Excel Saga. Now, I do own the entire box set, as you see here, these are all the single DVDs, and I really do like these covers, especially the one that parodies Fist of the North Star. But the main reason why I'm showing you it like this, rather than just showing you the box itself, is because if you ever looked at the box cover, it looks like a fucking hentai almost. And I have a feeling if I showed it up on YouTube, they would probably have a bitch fit about it, so I'm just rather just not show it at all. But if you guys are curious, just look it up on Google or something. But anyways, so this series is just hilarious and funny as fuck. I love it. It's an anime that pretty much parodies and makes fun of, like, every other anime that came out at the time. It was just a hell lot of fun, and of course it doesn't take itself seriously, it's goofy, it's weird, it's basically everything that it's just not serious at all, and I just love that hell lot. It kind of reminds me of Boba Bo Boba Bo. And just as an amusing fun fact that I can say about myself with this anime was that this was actually the first anime that I watched ever since I had to watch that fucked up Midori anime, so I guess you could say this anime actually cured my depression, and I'm very thankful for that, because god, that was fucking weird. And in case you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, then just pretend I didn't say anything and let's get moving on. And next is The Girl Who Leaped Through Time. So this is an anime that kind of reminds me of the movie Groundhog Day. Very similar. For that, it's about a girl who is reliving the exact same day over and over again, and she's just trying to get everything right. It's really interesting, but of course I really do like the sort of fun, like, summertime vibes that I get with this anime. And believe it or not, this is one of those animes that I bought randomly without knowing anything about it, brand new, and I ended up really liking it a lot, so it was a really good blind buy. And next is Gunbuster the movie. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, I fucking love the Gunbuster OVA, but sadly getting that DVD set of that is pretty damn expensive. But the movie version is much cheaper, at least I've seen it on sale for much cheaper many times. But is the movie version at least worth it though? I think it's worth watching, but I definitely don't think it's as good as the OVA for that, you know, this is more like an abridged version of, like, the OVA series, so there's a couple scenes that are not in it, which is really unfortunate, and there are some things that do happen a little bit differently, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same thing. So, it's still really good, but I will say that I would highly recommend watching the OVA series way more than the movie. But watching this movie on the Blu-ray though, all I have to say is that it's really freaking stunning. And next up is Jinro, which is another one that I consider to be a huge favorite of mine. But I do have an amusing story I will tell, was that before I watched this anime, when I first heard about it, I saw the cover and I was expecting it to be like some like mindless, gory as fuck action movie or some sort, but then as soon as I watched it, I realized that it was not really like that at all. Now, it does have action, and it does have blood in it, but it's not the main focus of the anime. In fact, this anime is very dark, and also very drama-heavy. It's really, really good, and of course it has some really awesome art and animation and all that kind of good stuff. And I'd consider it to be one of those movies that, like, the more times you watch it, the better it gets, because you kind of start to notice, like, different things about it every time you watch it, so I definitely do think it is one of those animes that is worth watching more than once. And next is Lupin the Third and the Castle of Cagliostro. Now, this is the only Lupin the Third related thing that I own, unfortunately, but hey, at least the only one that I own is one of the best. And for anyone that does want to get into the series, but like the TV series is like really freaking long, I would recommend some of the movies, and if I were to recommend any movie, I think this one would be the best one to start with, for that not only is it great all around, but also it has a more recognizable name attached to it, being Hayao Miyazaki. So knowing all that, the art and animation in it is like top notch and incredible. Also, this Blu-ray from Discotek is pretty awesome for a number of reasons, for that not only does it have a lot of good bonus features, but also you actually get like multiple versions of languages in here. Like you got like the Japanese, you got like both of the English dubs, and you even got a more like kid-friendly dub, which is kind of interesting. So, you know, you can like watch this movie with your kids, because, you know, this movie with like any of the other two dubs, it does have swearing in it. But still, they put a lot of work into this, and of course I really love the menu system as well, so yeah, definitely a really great movie if I say so myself, and I do wish I can own more of the Lupin the Third series on DVD or Blu-ray, but well, it's a work in progress. And next we have is Memories. So this is a pretty great movie that is like kind of like Heavy Metal the movie, but you know, like it has like 3 different stories that are like their own thing. They don't really connect to each other, but they have like their really cool, like distinct animated styles to them. So that's what I like to compare it to. But I will warn you all that these stories in this one are pretty dark and depressing, so you have to be in the right mood to watch them though. But if you do watch them, I can say that I really enjoyed them a hell lot. But one thing that is amusing though is that this case that it's in actually came from a rental store, so because of that, it's kind of nostalgic in a way, for that you get to see like original like rental movie case like this. And next is Metropolis, and yeah, it's kind of similar to the silent film, but of course it's not directly based after it. It's kind of its own thing, but it is heavily inspired by it, which I'm sure doesn't come as a surprise because it seemed like everything was inspired by Metropolis in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, this is a really great movie. I highly enjoyed it a lot, but my only main complaint with this little package deal, as much as I do love the beautiful steel case of it, is that it doesn't have very much bonus features in it, which is a damn shame. But holy shit did this movie look damn good though. And next up is The Millennium Actress. So this is a Satoshi Kon film that actually got released on Blu-ray fairly recently, and I actually got it like around when the Blu-ray came out. So yeah, this is a great movie from Satoshi Kon, which I guess doesn't come as a surprise. But to sum up what it's about these two interviewers trying to interview this actress who's like really old, but she has played in like a shit ton of movies in her prime. But the thing that really makes it fun though is that whenever she's like telling the story and then she's like doing like the filming and the acting and such, where the interviewers are actually like a part of like the movie sets as well, when clearly they weren't, but it's almost like she's telling it like as if they were actually there. It's actually pretty fun. And there's like a big long story that strings along the entire way. I'm not gonna say much about it in case you haven't seen it, but I definitely do think it is worth watching once. And next up we have is a badass film called Ninja Scrolls. Yeah, this movie is fucking awesome. This is another movie that I randomly watched for like the most random reason ever, was because I discovered it randomly when I was looking up information on the Deception series, more specifically Kagero Deception 2, and as you know, the character in this one is named Kagero, so of course I saw stuff about this anime and I figured, well, might as well watch it, and I did, and I fucking loved it. Lots of great action, great animation, some awesome gore stuff, it's just a hell lot of fun. Also, this DVD case is actually pretty nice looking. I really like what they did here. Even though my copy isn't in like the most perfect shape ever, I still like these little like fold out cases like this. But of course, the one thing that does suck about this version is that it's one of those double-sided like DVD discs. Ugh, fucking hate those. In fact, for that reason alone, I am thinking about getting the Blu-ray version. And next is Obon Star Racers. So this is an anime DVD that I like randomly found at a thrift store many years ago, and strangely enough, I still never got around to actually watching it, so I can't say much on it though. But you know, whenever you see an anime DVD or Blu-ray at like a thrift store, even if you don't know what the fuck it is, chances are you probably should buy it, because if you don't, then you know you're gonna miss out and you'll like probably never see it again. So if any of you guys have ever seen it, then let me know what you think. And next is Paprika, another awesome Satoshi Kon film, and this one's actually my favorite one, to be honest. In a lot of ways, it's kind of like the movie Inception, but only that this movie came out first. In fact, the movie Inception actually pretty much ripped off like an entire scene in this movie, like almost shot for shot. It's actually kind of hilarious. But yeah, to sum up this movie though, is that it's basically about a device that allows you to record your dreams and you can watch them later, which is something I kind of wish we'd have in real life, because wouldn't that just be so, like, amusing and creepy at the same time? Well, it turns out that one of the prototypes of the device was stolen and could potentially be used for evil purposes, so to prevent that from happening, the only way they can chase down this person with this device is that they also have to use the other device and try to chase him down by going through all these, like, weird dream scenarios. It's really fucking cool, and I really love the art style, and of course there's a lot of weird trippiness in here that is just really amusing. Also, having Paul St. Peter being the main character is actually quite refreshing, and I actually really like that a hell lot. And next is Project A Code, the very first one, and man, this movie is just fun as fuck. For not only does it have some really great animation, a fantastic soundtrack, I'm not gonna lie, this movie might actually have one of my favorite anime soundtracks of all time, just so many great catchy tunes on here. And the story itself is pretty damn ridiculous, but oh my god, is it just like hell a lot of fun. Like, it's pretty much the exact thing that I expect for pure escapism. It's basically about some girl that has some super strength, and there's a bunch of people from space that are trying to look for her, but then of course there's also some girl at their school who is like obsessed with like her little sister, and of course like they have like a big huge rivalry and a fight together, and of course things just get even more over the top as it gets farther in. It's just freaking hilarious. And next up is Royal Space Force. This is actually one of the more earlier Gainax animes, and this is also one of those films that they spent a lot of time with the budget and the animation, and holy shit does it show. Also, this Blu-ray and DVD set is actually pretty awesome looking. For that, not only do you get some nice box, some cool looking DVD covers, but it also comes with a nice art book as well, which not only has a cool cover, but even tells you some little information on the movie itself. It's pretty nice. But the movie itself, I thought was really good. I thought it was a lot of fun. It had some really good character moments, although I do find that the ending of this movie was a little weird and kind of odd. I mean, I still don't really know what to make of it though, but maybe I need to rewatch it again. Maybe I'll get it better, but for the most part though, I did really like this one. So because of that, I don't know if I'd say I like it better than Gunbuster, but it's still a good movie. And next is The Shamanic Princess. So this is actually one that I really enjoyed a lot more than I thought I would, and I probably like it more than most people do. For that, not only do I really love the art style in it, and yes, it definitely does look like a Clamp anime, but it's not, but I think they definitely did have some really awesome like backgrounds and animation and character designs. And I thought the story was good, but my only thing about this anime that is hard to recommend to other people is that it is a little hard to follow. Like, trust me, even the first time I watched this anime, I was a little lost too, but then after rewatching it more times though, I actually grown to appreciate it, and I really enjoyed it a hell lot. Also, I had to get the US Manga Corps version of the DVD because not only does US Manga Corps have the badass MD Geist logo, but also I heard that the recent Media Blasters DVD of it has like bootleg quality to it, and I ain't paying a lot of money for that shit. So next is Skullman. Now this is a very underrated anime in my opinion. I found this anime was pretty fucking awesome. I have reviewed it many years ago, but to sum it up quickly is that it's about some guy who goes back to his own town, but when he goes there, he finds out that there is a Skullman figure who is going around murdering people. And as you get further into the story, the more crazier shit gets, and it has a really mind-blowing, mindfuck sort of ending to it that makes you realize that it's connected to another series. But I won't get too much into that though, because not only do I think the ending is really great, but also I'm sure most people that are watching this probably haven't seen it, which is understandable because it's not something that everyone talks about. But I do consider it to be one of my favorite animes to come out in the year 2007. And next we have Tsubasa Chronicles. Now this series right here is basically like the Kingdom Hearts of the Clamp universe. So basically it's about a group of people that are traveling to different worlds, collecting feathers, and of course all the worlds that they go to and all the characters that they meet are actually from other animes from the company Clamp. So you'll see characters from like Cardcaptor Sakura, Magic Knight Rare, the anime X, and then there's Tokyo Babylon I think was in there as well, and a couple others. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one a lot, and I know this might be kind of a hot take, but I actually like it a lot better than Kingdom Hearts, mainly because it's just not so goddamn convoluted. But I did find it to be a lot of fun, not just for like the other references to other animes that I know, but I just found it that it had a really good story that was actually quite charming as well. And next up, we got a huge favorite of mine, and that's Vampire Hunter D. And yes, this is the DVD version, but not the original DVD version. This is the one that has the newer dub. And I gotta be honest, I am not crazy about the newer dub of it. I don't think it's like as bad as a lot of people make it out to be, but it definitely is not as good as the original one. I really loved Michael McConaughey as D himself. I thought he fit that role really well. But my main problem with the dub in this movie is that it's really hard to explain, but it's like, I feel like the tones of voices that are used in it are just so weird to me. Like I said, it's hard to explain it, but if you've seen it though, or you heard it, then you kind of know what I'm talking about. It just has this weird tone to it that just doesn't really fit it very well. But despite that though, this movie is still an all-time favorite of mine that I can highly recommend, especially if you're a fan of like horror animes, or if you're a fan of like Castlevania type things. Also, the music in this one is also an all-time favorite of mine, just like Project Echo. But eventually, I do want to try and upgrade my copy of this to a Blu-ray and maybe want to try and get the steel case version because that one looks really sexy. But the thing is, though, if I do upgrade, though, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. So, I don't know, maybe I might do a giveaway or something. And next up is obvious, it's Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, another really badass as fuck film that is also an all-time favorite of mine. But as much as I do like this slipcover of it though, I personally prefer the actual cover to the Blu-ray itself. But yeah, not much I need to say about this one that I already haven't said before, so basically just copy-paste everything I said about Vampire Hunter D into this, but only that this one is like 10 times better than it than like every other way. Except for the music though, but the music in this one is still pretty damn good though. And next is more vampire shit, and that's Vampire Princess Miyu. And to be exact, it's the OVA series. Surprisingly, the OVA series is actually still in print. I was kinda surprised about that, and they're dirt cheap too. And I personally enjoyed the OVA series. It's not perfect, it does have its issues, but I found it was at the very least very entertaining, mostly for its dark ambient art style and music. But I really do wish we can get a redub of this one. I do think it is deserving of one. Alright, so next up we have is some Ghibli Studio stuff, and that happens to be Spirited Away, which is definitely one of my all-time favorite ones. And I remember the first time I watched this movie, we rented it on VHS many years ago, and I was like, damn, this movie is awesome, but also kind of creepy too, because you gotta remember, I was a kid, and watching like some of those like weird scenes as a kid, yeah, it definitely left an impression on me, but of course as I got older and rewatched it more times, well, definitely became a huge favorite. And next is some collector's edition ones, that being Princess Mononoke. So as you can see here, it has like a really huge case, and also has like an art book and everything. It's a really nice package deal. And it also comes with the soundtrack as well, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, this is another one that I do consider to be a favorite of mine, for that not only does it have a really cool story, does have some really awesome set pieces, I really love the action scenes in it. In fact, this anime is actually pretty violent for a Ghibli Studio film. And the final one for these Ghibli Studio ones happens to be My Neighbor Totoro. Just like the other one, this one also has the same package deal, where it has like the cool art book and also has like the soundtrack and everything. And I do think this is a pretty good film. I wouldn't say it's my top favorite, but the reason why I got this collector's edition set of it was because I actually found it on sale, and I figured it was a good sale, and also it was a film I didn't have, and like I said, I do really like this film, but I wouldn't consider it to be as good as Spirited Away or Princess Mononoke personally. But the one thing that I really do like about this film is that it has like that nice like summertime vibes, like the ones that kind of takes you back to when you went on like summer vacation. That's what I really like about this film. Kind of similar to what I said about The Girl Who Leaped Through Time, but this one I think is definitely the pinnacle of summer vacation time. And finally, last but not least, I've saved this one for last because it's like the biggest thing I own when it comes to anime shit, and that happens to be Bubblegum Crisis. I mean, just look at this freaking beast. This thing is fucking huge, and besides, it actually looks like a big box PC games that you used to see back in the day, and that's what I really love about this set. For that, not only is it huge and looks really cool, but you actually get a lot of really good information out of it with some really cool pictures. And believe it or not, I actually bought this set at a thrift store many years ago for like $2. Like, I'm not even joking. And the reason how I found it was because it was mixed in with like the board game shit. I guess the people that were sorting through all the board games, they thought this was a board game, I guess. Well, obviously they fucked up. But yeah, when I saw it, I was just like, oh shit, this is an anime DVD set. I thought like the case was very unique looking for a DVD set, and of course I looked at like the cover and everything, and you know, at the time when I saw it, I didn't even know what the fuck Bubblegum Crisis was. I was kind of like, Bubblegum Crisis, what the fuck kind of name is that? So after I bought it, I took it home and I watched it, and I fell in love with it. So yes, this is another one of those blinded by things, but this one actually became a huge favorite of mine. Not only does it have a lot of really great detail to its animation and art style, also the music is fucking amazing, and all the characters are badass and fun. And hilariously enough, for meme-worthy jokes, all the enemies in this one are called boomers. Yeah, not even joking. So when it comes to cyberpunk animes, this is definitely a top favorite for me personally, and I can highly recommend it in case you haven't seen it. And that's all the anime DVDs and Blu-rays that I have as of 2020, and all I gotta say is that I'm really happy and thankful for what I have. So of course, as always, feel free to comment some of your favorites of ones I have, or ones that you own yourself that I don't have, or whichever you want to do. And of course, I'll be doing some more collection videos upcoming soon, so with that said, thanks for watching and commenting, and have yourselves a great day.